Hello, I'm Heavy Thrasher of Nasty Metal Production channel at YouTube. This is probably my fourth take. Well, in the other few takes, I said my power is out. Uploading a video while the power, before the power went out, and it's now halted. Might not see the video get uploaded until later tonight. So, what am I talking about? The new wave of British heavy metal revival. Which, not like the thrash metal revival, this consisted of old bands that came out during that era, or movement, that didn't get as much success as they could have, even though some might have, but ended up deciding to split up, whatever, and then somehow during like the 90s and 2000s, came back, and somehow got back even more success that they did not have in the 80s. So that went for bands such as even right now with a band such as Hell, who really never had any success at all. They were like the bottom barrel of the movement. Yeah, they had that single, Save Us From Those Who Would Save Us, but that didn't gain them, and they were gonna get, a record label with, or sign one with Mausoleum, but they did. However, at that time, they then had trouble with financials and such, and then quickly disbanded, and Hell didn't get the release there or record their first album. So, if they did, it's probably in demo form. But they then decided to come back, and even after one of their members passed away, got some new vocalists, and have, signed a deal with Nuclear Blast a few years ago and released that, I think it was Human Sacrifice, I think. Maybe I've got that album wrong, but they've now found a lot of success, and it's crazy. So that's where how much the NWOBHM Revival within the 2000s really affected bands, and I would say it definitely started within the 90s, and there's definitely seems to be a lot of evidence to back that up. Like, I was reading through the anthology booklet by Legend, and where one of the members said that ever since the internet, that a lot of people were interested in listening to Legend. So it pretty much started within the 90s and the whole internet age. So, hell, I'll even say it also started with represses and reissues, like such as 1995 when Heavy Metal Records decided to repress or reissue Witchfinder General's Death Penalty, now a classic name upon the new wave of British heavy metal. You can't, if you're going to talk about it, you can't forget about this band, and with the album Death Penalty right here, or even earlier stuff such as the Soviet Invasion EP, and such as it pretty much started in 1995. So, going on with 90s still, 98, another band decides to come reunite and play a live show, which resulted in a live album, and the boost or something again, and popularity, I guess, pretty much came after when Tank released The Return of the Filth Hounds. Their status and their popularity kind of boosted again with this release, and they found newfound success within the 2000s, and now you can see the whole shit nowadays. They definitely have, and honestly, they can thank the internet and also even other stuff for that success that they have now. Then in 2001, reissues came with War Attrition Live. Originally released in 2001, this is the reissue from like 2007, I believe, 2008, somewhere around there with the box set, but this was originally released in 2001. And again, it was because of the little newfound popularity within the Return of the Filth Hounds Live. So, they followed up in 2002 with Still at War. Again, riding on the rails of their newfound success. Right there. Definitely a good album. I will say it's definitely, you can kind of see the direction that the members wanted to really take with some of their recent albums with, Cliff Evans and Mick Tucker. They kind of, this album really gave that hint. But, so, 2000s, few more bands started popping up that were a part of that new wave of British heavy metal, like in 2005. Like I was talking about it, the anthology and the whole booklet reading through there. Legend, the anthology, released on Monster Records in 2005. This is the 2009 reissue that was by Forged in Fire, a sublabel of Rockadrome, which Rockadrome was originally Monster Records, and Forged in Fire is a sublabel of Rockadrome. And this, ever since, again, with the dull internet and everything, people were interested in listening to some of the Legend albums, and they probably didn't want to fork out an arm and a leg for the early releases, such as the debut from 1981, or Death in the Nursery, or the Frontline EP. They didn't want to fork a, arm and leg for them, so they just reissued them on CD in this 2-disc. So, you finally get to hear these albums, and honestly, this is just, to me, one of the underrated bands of that era. And, cool disc anyway. So, what else? In 2009, right around that same year, or, wait, 2005, even though this is the deluxe edition, this was reissued around 2005 by Castle Music, and it was Angel Witch's eponymous debut record. Now, consists of bonus shit, whatever, and Angel Witch definitely were kind of a bit of the, kind of popular, I guess, but that was thanks to the Metal for Mothers, comps. But this one, again, while they did have success with this app, and apparently they just could not follow up to this. While I do like those, I really do, I'll probably say Screaming and Bleeding is probably the closest it ever got to actually beating this record in a way, but not as much. And while I also kind of dig a bit of that Frontal Assault album, not bad. I don't have As Above, So Below. I don't have that one. Would like to see it all the time at record stores, but never get it. So, I've heard it was like one of the best albums of that year, that when it was released, like 2009, I think, yeah, or 2010, I believe, one of those. So, within that, reissues still kept popping up in more bands as well. Even 2002, Legend did release a comeback album. I don't have that one. But in 2010, new record label, or emerging record label, Shadow Kingdom releases a pretty long lost record of that time. Of like 86, kind of, very late, but they get thrown in. And that was none other than Deep Switch, 9 Inches of God. This is You know, they came in during that time as well, and they did have an album. This album, 1986, came late. Kind of similar to, you know, kind of like with Virtue, but not bad. But I think they are active again, and I think it was because of the thanks to the new wave of British heavy metal revival and the whole internet, kind of gave them more attention. Because of that, more people wanted to seek this shit out. So again, CD form, not bad. Not really my favorite of the whole new wave of British heavy metal stuff, but not bad. Features some cool demos as well, but. And also, they are kind of also one of the new wave of British heavy metal bands that actually kind of take on more gimmicky clothing, such as right there you see in the back. Yeah, but not bad music. Definitely, it's definitely kind of all got that a little bit of that new wave of British heavy metal sound. So, keeping it going to still same year 2010. I showed this in my Metalmine Productions video. Metalmine definitely also helped in repressing a lot of new wave of British heavy metal albums. Even ones that were on labels such as MCA, which even major labels during that time wanted to kind of latch onto this and see if that they can make the next, band that can beat Iron Maiden, a band that can beat Def Leppard, a band that can beat Saxon. They wanted to kind of do that. Even for bigger bands such as Motorhead, Judas Priest, and Black Sabbath. They wanted to try and do that, but it just couldn't. But, again, Metalmine did go ahead and reissue one of those, and that was Quartz, Stand Up and Fight. Now, the first album dates back to 1977, and Quartz did find a lot of new success within reissues, such as the Satan Serenade Anthology that came out in 2004. And even again with represses of this album, and even with Majestic Rock doing even this as well, such as the first album, they found more success within reissues, especially this one. So, while I just skipped a year, but in 2009, another band that would also kinda, make more resurgence, and it was again through reissues again, and even like 1997, was with Satan, Courtney Act. Originally released on Neat Metal Records, which was, I guess, came off kind of a sub-label, I guess, of Neat. But again, this lineup is now back together. Released the Live Sentence, which I will show. And it was because of people wanted to check this stuff out again. Even also now new fans are now kind of going after these, seeking this stuff out. And again, these bands can thank that. They can thank the internet. They can thank most of the reissues and everything. Even though this is unofficial, they still have to kind of respect it, because it gave them more it just gave them more attention again. New fans as well came on, and it helped them. So again, 2010, High Roller Records comes out, and we're also labeled that we're releasing a ton of new wave of British heavy metal stuff, a ton of them, and that goes with Perchon, High Roller. Now, this band is also known for having Adrian Smith. Adrian Smith being member of Iron Maiden. Now, I think some bands or fans kind of wanted to check out, Adrian Smith's earlier stuff, pre-Iron Maiden. And there was that vinyl release that was released sometime 2000 whatever 2004, but High Roller decides to actually release some unreleased stuff, like unreleased recordings, like right here. This is indeed more of a demo recording than a rehearsal, but still pretty good. And the song Life in the City will then get turned into an Iron Maiden song. It will be called Sheriff in Huddersfield. I think something like that, and with different lyrics, being a little more jokey, but again, hot on the rails of the whole new wave of British heavy metal revival. And 2012 rolls in, and again, another band that was also never big in that year, or during that time. It's none other than Demon Pact. It is again the reason that this band was starting to find, ever got to see a CD release of their stuff was because of the internet and because of collectors who were seeking out to find, that single, Eaten Alive. But now with High Roller Records, they then reissued this stuff on disc and vinyl, and even including some other like live recordings, some demos as well. And I talked about it as well in the High Roller, but this is like a complete overview of that band. And again, it's because of the new wave of British heavy metal revival why stuff like this is now getting, reissued and, back to the masses. Same year, again, Urchin ends up getting one of their stuff, again, more rehearsal stuff this time. Not demo, but rehearsal, and it was, Get Up and Get Out. It's definitely a rehearsal. Very raw sounding than the High Roller, even though the High Roller was a little raw sounding, but it's more audible, more, you can make out the instruments, but this one, not as much, but still good. So, 2013 rolls in, and we then get to see some comeback albums by some more, including Satan with Life Sentence. Very much Courtney Act Part 2. No doubt about it. If you like Courtney Act, you are gonna like this one. Brian Ross sounds just as good as he did on that album, even though he's kind of, again, taking it easy on a bit of the high-pitched, falsettos and such, but man, he still sounds good. He still does. And this isn't, and I know they had also an album released before this as well, such as Suspended Sentence, but that had almost a bit of an altered lineup. But this is the same lineup that recorded Courtney Act. Just a great comeback album, and how a comeback album should sound. So, same year, 2013, more record labels decided to come along and reissue more rare EPs, and even including ones that even got a bit of a following as well, or hype. Well, it's none other than Norremor releasing Virtues, We Stand the Fight. Now, a band that I did say kind of came in late, such as Deep Switch, but man, when I came in to start, looking at new wave of British heavy metal and also coming to downloading, I also kind of saw such a huge following for such a single such as We Stand to Fight. Now, this one is not just 2 songs. There is definitely 3 songs from a demo that was recorded after this. But even that demo kind of just fits in with the stuff that goes on here. But still not bad. But again, this is pretty much the only stuff that Virtue released, and it's surprising how a fan base can just latch itself onto this. It's, you know, it's crazy. And there's also some pretty cool biography as well, even some little, I guess it's like an interview as well with some of the members, but it's just crazy. And it's, again, even the original single itself ends up still being a sought after release as well, but it's now been reissued on vinyl as well, so whatever. And it's also, again, how that got success was through a bootleg reissue of it on Phoenix Records. Again, even bootlegs also helped some of these new wave of British heavy metal bands, they get the status that they have now. Again, if it wasn't for that, none of these bands would even have as much success as they did. While some through reissues or unofficial, it helped them get to where they are now. Again, another band that also kind of got, you know, a little bit of success, even though in the 80s, but it wasn't until like the 90s and 2000s where they started to get more of that fan base, and that was none other than Battle Axe. Everyone remembers Burn This Town, Power from the Universe, but again, through the internet, people wanted to listen to that stuff again. However, with that whole new fan base, with even some old ones and some new ones, they decided to release some other stuff, including unreleased, like that Nightmare Zone EP, which has 3 songs that were supposed to have been a follow-up to Power from the Universe, but never did. But it was going to be called Mean Machine, but here comes the official follow-up to that album, and it was last year in 2014 with Heavy Metal Sanctuary on SPV Steamhammer. Very much a pretty, just a good follow-up to Power from the Universe. Hell, it has remnants of that album. Hell, even a little bit of remnants of Burn This Town, but with a little bit of new tricks here and there. Still, I really dug this album when it came out last year. I just couldn't stop listening to it. I couldn't. It was such a great album, and again, even the vocalist, whatever, he just sounds almost the same as he did then, but just a little raspy, but you can still tell it's him. It's great. To me, one of the best albums of last year, and indeed, yeah. However, just like with Hell, here comes another band that actually were even much more obscure than Hell. This band was only in the form of demos, and apparently what I've heard is not a whole lot of people knew about them, but if they did, it was through live shows mostly. But they did release a slew of demos, and it was so under the radar that now they decided to release their debut record in last year on High Roller Records, and that was Deep Machine. If this album was recorded in the 80s, it probably they probably would have had more followings, but man, what another good comeback album. Now, I didn't like it as much as some of the other albums that were released that year, especially like Battle Axe, but damn, what a good one. Definitely, I'm just at loss for words right now. But just a little different lineups, a little different, but still not bad. It also features a little EP as well that was released in 2012. Even High Roller released one of their demos as well. But how I first found Deep Machine was through the song Demon Preacher. Wished it was recorded for this album, wished it was, but it was not. But still, even has some songs that kind of have that a bit, songs such as Iron Cross, Now, even such as The Gathering or The Wizard, which was also an early song. You can hear the song The Wizard on one of their demos. But just a great disc. Now, probably one of the more popular ones that are not technically popular but were, that had ties to Satan, were none other than Avenger, and that was a way to cap off 2014. Ian Swift still sounds good. Just a little, just slightly raspy, but man. Still good though, very much good. He just sounds still good to this day. But, and in a way, this also caps off the video for last thing to show. Shit. The slaughter never stops is indeed what this album, it's a fitting title for this album because of, to me, it seems like another progression from the Killer Elite album that was released in 1985. It's got some good songs such as Fate, which was one of the first songs that I heard that was going to be on this album, and man, to me, I was literally kind of reminded of some of that stuff off of Killer Elite. Just a great album. And Ian Swift as well was the original vocalist for Satan, and Brian Ross was an original vocalist for Avenger. So there's again the ties. But now to say that Avenger made an album that was better than Satan's album from 2013, that's stretching it. But still, not bad. Well, looks like rain's coming in, sirens, everything. Talk about new wave of British heavy metal revival albums and reissues. It's just turning to fucking chaos. So I am gonna end this. My power's still out. So, in other words, this is Heavy Thrash Head saying, I'm out!